everyone. My name is Arvind Balaram. I'm the pastor of a church in Gurgaon, just outside of Delhi. I'm also the executive director of Delhi School of Theology, which we call DST for short. And DST exists to equip Christians theologically for ministry in an Indian context. Our aim is to provide sound theological education that is culturally relevant, that is academically excellent, relationally focused environment here in urban North Indian environment and based in the great city of Delhi. I'm joined here today with my co-host, Ranjit David. He's the pastor of New City, Delhi, and a member of the leadership team of DST. So welcome, Ranjit. Today we're very excited to be introducing a new podcast that DST is putting out, and we're calling it very originally DST Podcast. So Ranjit, can you just share with our listeners a little bit, what is DST Podcast all about?
Thanks, Arvind. I'm really looking forward to these next few episodes. We're going to be talking about various topics that are relevant for our context. Just to help our listeners know, we've been talking about the need for a podcast, but then we kind of zeroed in on some key topics based on a survey we did with our students. And they suggested some of the topics they are dealing with in their own workplace, in their own churches, in their ministry context. So we've put together a series of topics that is extremely crucial and relevant in today's culture. So we're going to be talking about some of these topics like the theology of suffering, the theology of culture, contextualization, work, what does the Bible say about mental health, prosperity gospel, and some of these key issues. And some of these topics we are not just talking about in a very theological or intellectual aspect, but it is very practical. It is going to be talked by some of our guests who are practitioners, who are actually on the ground dealing with some of these issues, and we're going to hear from them how are they handling some of these issues, even in their own churches in the work context. So this is some of the things that is very exciting about this podcast.
Yeah, I think some of these topics, as well as the guests that we've had on, are going to be of real interest and benefit to our listeners. But, one question that inevitably that would come to my mind if I was listening to you right now talk about this is, do we really need another podcast? The topics you all mentioned sound interesting, but at the end of the day, you can go on Google, you can go on YouTube, you can look these things up, you can find a lot of content, a lot of resources, from around the world on this kind of stuff from scholars and experts and all this. Why do we really need to, put out another podcast from DST?
Absolutely. And you are right. I mean, there's all kinds of really good content on the internet today and better content, really biblical content. So if we need to look for these things, you can search and actually land on some popular podcasts. But one thing I feel that's missing is a podcast for an Indian context, by Indians and for Indians, right? So I feel like there is this space in the Indian context where we need to talk about some of these issues. We need to hear from people who are from different backgrounds, but dealing with some of these issues that are very common to the Indian church. So I feel like this is where this is going to be unique. You're going to be hearing from some of these speakers who are faithfully working for the gospel in India. And I think that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, so sounds good, Ranjit. We're both excited about this. Good topics, good guests, and from an Indian context, and really relevant for what Indians are going through in the church and as Christians here. So, yeah, we're looking forward to this, and it's coming out soon. So just tell us a little bit, Ranjit, where and when can our listeners find these episodes?
Yeah, and more recently, I've been a podcast junkie, and I love podcasts as I'm driving, and I'd love to listen to some of these episodes that I kind of wait to listen to. I make my kids listen to podcasts anytime we're on a long drive. My kids are listening to podcasts, so I want to introduce them to some of these good content. So this is going to be an exciting thing. And if you are not somebody who enjoys podcasts, we encourage you to give this a try, so that you can get into this thing of really redeeming your time. Even when you're driving or you're waiting for something, these podcasts are going to be very helpful to just kind of think about some of these issues and interact and engage even with your own friends. So we're going to be launching the first episode on the 26th of January, where our nation celebrates the Republic Day. And that's when the first episode is going to launch. And after that, every week on a Thursday that we're going to launch these episodes. We have 7 episodes lined up for you on these 7 unique topics. And we hope to do more of these podcasts in future, but this is going to be our first attempt at it. So we'd love for you to listen to it. We'd love to hear from you about how you are engaging with some of these topics and how it's been a blessing to you, or even some of your feedback. So find them on several podcast channels like Spotify or Apple or any of these channels, or you can even watch this podcast on YouTube.
All right, great. So we're looking forward to this and hope to have all you back on Republic Day to hear our first episode. Thank you.
Thank you.